Welcome to Real Combat, everybody, the ultimate movie debate show by movie fans for movie fans. This is season 2, and we're excited to get started. The rules of Real Combat are simple. Both contestants have chosen a movie they think I should watch. They will debate through 4 rounds of different categories to convince me on why I should watch their movie of choice. The contestants with the oldest movie goes first. Round 1 is, why should I watch your movie? Round 2, why shouldn't I watch your opponent's movie? Round 3 is your movie's impact on audiences. And round 4 is personal connections, where the contestants reveal their personal connections to the movies of choice. Let's meet our contestants. All right, guys, welcome to Real Combat. This is season 2. The stakes are higher and it is going a lot crazier. Alex, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. I cannot wait to hear what your movies are going to be. Guys, there is one little amendment, one little change to season 2 of Real Combat. Each contestant has a chance at winning a round. The contestant who wins the most rounds at the end of the episode gets to decide if they want to have a rematch next year. All right, we're going to go from there. So 4 rounds. The first round, of course, is why should I watch your movie? But before we get to that, I want to hear what the movies are. Alex, I'm going to start with you. What is your movie of choice this episode?
Well, I would say my movie is quite titillating. It is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, 1988.
Very nice. I like it a lot. All right, one I've seen. Paul, what is your choice?
My choice for this time was Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay, all right, another good one. Another solid, 2 solid choices here. 2 very different choices, both horror, which I love. So let's get into it. So we're going to go with round 1 because, Paul, you've picked the older movie. You get to go first. So take it away. Why should I watch your movie?
But why you should watch my movie is if you appreciate horror, in my opinion, you need to start at the very beginning. And I think a lot of people would agree with me in saying that Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho was the beginning of the slasher industry and bringing sexuality to the screen as well with the shower scene. I just think it's a phenomenal movie. Cinematography is unparalleled, especially for the time, as well as the musical scores for it. There have been so many spin-offs of it as far as Bates Motel. John Carpenter even pulled from Psycho. So if you enjoy a lot of the better names in the 80s horror or even now-time horror movies, a lot of them just stem from a lot of those scenes there. Just the shower scenes. I can't think of almost any horror movie you see nowadays that doesn't have at least one shower scene with someone either sneaking in or a creature touching you or something like that. So they were the first ones to do it. So I think if you want something old school that you can watch with any age, in my opinion, I think everyone will take something from it, and it's appropriate for all audiences. And I think it's a really great starter into horror if you're trying to start from the beginning.
All right, that was a great choice. Really good argument. You talk about sexuality on screen, which our other movie definitely like pushed to 11, if that's the case. And so, Alex, why should I watch Elvira, Mistress of the Dark?
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark it's my favorite of the 2 Elvira movies. The other one is Elvira's Haunted Hills. And it is the story of a fictionalized version of horror movie hostess Elvira, the hostess with the mostest, the girl who put the boobs back in the boob tube. And it stands out because it is a macabre comedy that is not made for children. Doesn't mean I didn't watch it as a child, but it's not like your Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, Double Toil and Trouble. So it stands out there. It's also a loving tribute to bad horror movies. The great American International Roger Corman movies from the 50s and 60s, which the movie opens with a clip from. And it's got all of the tropes in it. It's filled with fantastic one-liners. Elvira's basically Groucho Marx with a great rack. And the jokes are just one after another. And every time I watch it, I find something new. I've probably seen it, gosh, at least 30 times in my life, at least. And every time there's a joke that I notice or something else that I notice. Edie McClurg is in it, who's got the greatest Midwestern accent of all time, as the villain Chastity Pariah. She's just fantastic. Everybody gives a great performance. Very groundling centric. John Paragon, who is John B. the Genie from Pee-wee's Playhouse, co-wrote the movie and makes an appearance in it. And so does Lynn Stewart, Miss Savant from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, and yeah, that's a hell of a good argument. I mean, that's a hell of a lineup too. I mean, it's fantastic what they did with this movie. I am a big fan of both, but the fact that William Morgan, who some might know more so from Game of Thrones most recently, like he was a really established actor back then, and he was playing the villain, and he was scary in it. He did a great job. He handled it really well for a horror comedy. That does not mean I'm choosing Elvira. Don't worry, Paul. I see you sweating a little bit. It'll be all good. We're getting there. We have 3 more rounds to go. And I want you guys to have fun with them. We're going to get into round 2 now. And this is why shouldn't I watch your opponent's movie? And because you went first last time, Paul, Alex, I'm going to let you take this one.
I think that Psycho is a great film, technically speaking. The cinematography is great. The writing is so-so. It is a very problematic movie by today's standards. And I don't think it's even Hitchcock's best. I would, if I were going to watch a Hitchcock movie, it would probably not be Psycho. That is the second Hitchcock movie I ever saw. And after years of anticipation, wanting to see Psycho, I was lit down. Also, lots of negative stereotypes in it that hit me the wrong way when I was a kid and made me uncomfortable, but I wasn't quite sure why. And I just think if you're going to watch a Hitchcock movie, there are better movies.
All right. Paul, why shouldn't I watch Elvira, Mistress of the Dark?
Unfortunately for me, I didn't honestly care for Elvira, so it's more of a personal thing. It was funny. It had its funny moments, in my opinion. But as far as horror comedy, I'm kind of pickier. So I feel like you have to be the right niche for those movies, because I do have quite a few horror friends, and some of them do love Elvira, but I can't name all of them that do, as opposed to other horror comedies that are out there. As far as, she does look beautiful, but I think if you want better, I mean, you can pick a lot of just everyday B horror movies that are going to show you a lot more. So in my opinion,
the old Joe Bob adage, huh?
Yeah. So I guess I just wouldn't watch it just because, I mean, there's a lot of other options that I think are funnier and better looking hosts, in my opinion. So yeah.
When it comes to this round, I think it always kind of throws people off because they're like, I don't know, I either like that movie or like I don't want to talk about it. But it's nice to hear what people's thoughts on these movies are too, because I think this is the round that really shares, because you each chose your own. So what do you think about the other one? And that's why I like this round so much. And I did not award the first round yet, but the first 2 rounds go to Alex. I'm going to get his argument for Elvira in the first round, and then against Psycho. Kind of were they just, I understand the personal connection with Elvira for you, Paul, and I get that, but I am such a big fan of it. I'm like, I can't give that one to you, but no, so the first 2 rounds, but you can still come back, buddy, and you can win it. So before we get started and we go to round 3, I want to talk about some stuff that you guys want to share. And Alex, I'm going to bring you up first and tell us a little bit about your podcast, where we can follow you, and more.
So my personal Instagram is where I do lots of different stuff. It's at West. Um, I also do a podcast library variety show as part of the St. Joe County Public Library. And we talk about all sorts of things. We talk about movies, books we're reading, library stuff. And that's on all major platforms, and that you can find on Instagram too. Library Variety Show. I'm also working on a huge project right now. I'm in grad school, and I'm finishing up a thesis that I'm going to be turning into a book. But I don't want to say much more than that right now.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you sharing that. And guys, again, everything is down below in the description. You can go click on it, go follow Alex for more. But Paul, let's talk about you a little bit. I'm going to pull you up on the screen. Tell us where to follow you and what you're doing right now.
The only places to follow me right now are just my personal Facebook and Instagram right now. I'm trying to get a podcast going. I think I'm going to start one, just movie reviews. It's going to be a general thing just to start with until I can get a co-host with me that wants to commit to doing a formal podcast. So I'm doing a fundraiser for it's a Down syndrome walk because my niece has Down syndrome. I done the walk the last 2 years now. It's been amazing. It's a lot of fun. The kids have a great time, as do the adults. It's very rewarding. I never expect anyone. You don't have to send money if you don't want to or whatnot. I mean, even just walking and registering is more than enough. And even if you just show your support by sharing it, it'd be greatly appreciated by my wife and I. So.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. That's great, man. So, guys, if you want to support charity, go and follow Paul as well. Everything, again, is down in the description below, right next to Alex's links. Guys, we're going into round 3. This is the fun one. This is where it starts getting a little crazy. I want to hear about your movie's impact on audiences. Now, Paul, it's kind of a heavy impact you got there. You're starting us off in this round. What was Psycho's impact on audiences, and what do you think its legacy is?
Its legacy was just the shock value. They had never had a shower scene or a woman in full nudity, so the audiences were flocking to see it, which, the big name bigwigs didn't think was going to happen because they didn't want stabbing to be shown, and then to also have nudity involved in a movie at the time. Hitchcock put up his own money for this one. It's a huge impact, and for me and for Sam, I got Sam actually to watch it yesterday. It was a huge thing for the twist. She was highly amazed by it and just absolutely loved it. So I can imagine that back then it was just never done before, and it was just a huge impact on audiences. I will agree with Alex in saying it probably wasn't Alfred Hitchcock's best, and I know that wasn't his best in the box office either. But it definitely was the top one, and I think it paved the way for other movies to come about. So as far as impact to audiences, I think it left everyone feeling some type of way and actually enjoying depictions of like the first serial killer.
I will agree with you, and especially when you say it paved the way. I think that's the thing. Like with Psycho, for me, I completely get what it opened the door to. And I got to give it a lot of respect for that. Like, we would not have the horror we have today if that wasn't at least there for the time and what it did. But so it's a good argument. But Alex, I'm very much looking forward to hearing about the audience, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and its impact on its audiences.
So last year, I actually listened to the audiobook version of Cassandra Peterson's Elvira's autobiography, Cruelly Yours, I believe it's called. And she talked a lot about the release of the movie. It was not successful on its initial release. It was made by Orion Pictures, that has just recently started making movies again, but it basically filed for bankruptcy and started cleaning out offices the week Elvira was released. And it was initially released in LA and San Francisco, I believe, and did really well. They tried to move it to some other theaters, and it just sort of went away. really found its audience on TV. I can remember watching it on TV all the time when I was little. But it goes so much beyond that. Elvira as a character is sort of like, I think the goal of Elvira, the character, is to be to Halloween what Santa Claus is to Christmas. So you have her up until, I think, like 2 years ago, she was performing at Knott's Berry Farm every single year as Elvira. She brought back these obscure horror movies and started putting them on TV and like sort of revamped, so to speak, the late night movie horror host. And so Mistress of the Dark sort of is her magnum opus of the Elvira character. And I've also had the pleasure of meeting Cassandra in person. She's delightful. And I had to wait hours to meet her because she not only had such a huge fan base waiting for her, but she was gracious and spent so much time with each person.
Well, no, so I appreciate what you said there, Alex. I didn't know that Orion was bankrupt during the release of Elvira. That's pretty crazy. That's
So they also did the first Addams Family movie and had to sell it to, I think Paramount bought it because they were just done at the time.
That's a big pull for Paramount too, to bring it back, because that was a lot of money, even that second one. So I really like your arguments there. The impact is an important thing, I think, and with this round, with everything that I'm learning about it and what you guys throwing out to me, I'm gonna have to give this one to Paul, because I do agree that when it comes to the legacy, yes, this is, I will outright say it, this is definitely not Hitchcock's best. I don't know that it's even in his top 10, in my opinion, because he has such a huge filmography of epic movies, and Psycho's a good one, but it's not. It just is, it's no Rope, it's no Vertigo, or things like that. So, but that is a great argument, because this was like essentially one of the first blockbusters too, with people trying to get in. And this movie, another piece of trivia for Psycho, was the first movie where they had to create times in movie theaters. So they had to put different times because so many people wanted to see it, and he wouldn't allow it to overlap.
Right.
So that's where they finally started putting in time, so that way they could play all day long. So, well, congratulations to Paul on that one, but we're getting into the last one. Let's see if you could split it. But round 4 is personal connections. I think, Alex, you went first last time, correct? Or is it Paul?
I went first last time.
Okay, so Alex, you're going to take the final round, and you're going to start us off.
Okay. So like I said before, I remember watching Elvira on TV. I had a VHS copy that I recorded off of Channel 16, The U in Chicago. And I would watch it over and over again. I knew all the lines. I put on an oversized black t-shirt and said the lines along with the movie. When I wasn't dressing up as a witch, I was, dressing up as Elvira or some variation on a witch. It was a movie that spoke to me as a kid. I think for the camp value, although that was not something that I understood, like camp was not in my vocabulary. It was not a concept that I understood at the time, but it really spoke to me, especially as a queer person. And that's why I continue to watch it all the time. Why I'm such an Elvira fan, and have been since I was like 4 or 5 years old, which is way too young to be watching it. But I had no idea what she was talking about. So,
That was great. Now, Paul, we're going to go to you, my friend. What is your personal connection to Psycho?
So my personal connection is I've always been a fan of horror, but I didn't know what good horror was or bad horror was, of course, first starting. My family is not the biggest into horror. And at the time I was introduced to this movie, my mother had realized I was getting into horror, like watching Saw and things of this nature. And she was like, let's watch a Hitchcock film. And at the time, I think I was about 13 or 14. I had never seen Hitchcock before. So I think my big thing is that we watched Birds first, and then we watched this one. And I absolutely loved it. I think it's amazing how a movie that was made almost 40 or 60 years plus ago can still be relevant and enjoyed by a teenager at the time. And especially for how much of a punk I was at the time, it was nice finding common ground with my mother and us being able to talk about some of the original horror and asking her what it was like when these movies came out. And how much it impacted her, or how much she liked it, or what her and her friends were saying about these movies at the time. Because unfortunately, sometimes with watching older movies, you don't get the shock value that you did back then, because everything's one up now and everything's insane nowadays. So personally, it's just a feel good with my mom. Hitchcock, I always attached to my mother, and us just being able to find common ground and something we could always enjoy together.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, I love both those. Yeah, I'm just splitting this one. You win it. You win the rounds, Alex, 3-2. But I'm splitting this one because I love both those stories. I love the connections. That's my favorite round. It's always the personal connections. I love to hear the stories. All right, I guess this comes down time. You guys have put up really good arguments for your movies, 2 very different movies. It being October, I am. What am I most in the mood for? That's the thing. Yeah. Paul, I'm going to tell you this. I think if you had gone The Birds, it would have sealed it. Right. I do love that movie. And that's still not even on the top 10 of Hitchcock movies for me, but there's something about The Birds that just always like hits me in the horror feels. But I'm kind of feeling a comedy at the moment, and there is a personal connection I have to Elvira Mystery, a Mistress of the Dark. My old boss and mentor when I was a filmmaker, Larry Flash Jenkins, is in that movie. So whenever I hear a movie that he's in gets pitched to me, I got to go and I got to see his face. So Alex, you take this one with the movie. I appreciate you guys jumping on here and doing this. These are both great choices, and actually, it'd make a pretty fun double feature, honestly, because she used to show all the old movies, and like you get to get an old movie maybe afterwards. But there can only be one winner on Real Combat, and at this time, it was Alex. I want to thank you guys so much for joining the show today. This was a lot of fun. I loved your choices; it's truly fantastic. And hopefully we'll have you get back in the next season, and maybe it'll be a rematch, or we'll see. But thank you, Alex. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. And, of course, we're going to have our new Friday morning show starting October 7th, our anniversary week, the Scene Snobs Morning Drive live show. You can enjoy us every Friday morning. We want to take the time out to say thank you so much to our wonderful patrons who support us and help keep the lights on. You guys are amazing. We love you. Tim, Paul, Stacy, Matt, Aaron, Chris S., and Chris H.
As always, big salutations and appreciations to Dan, John B., Ron, Jason, AJ, Radar, and John W.
We have 3 tiers available with plenty of perks and a lot of fun stuff. Make sure to join up at patreon.com/thescenesnobs. Of course, Snobs Nation Discord is open, and you can join in the fun conversations there with great moderators, great people. The whole nation's there, and it's wonderful. The Snobs Nation, not the whole nation.
No. I mean, the important part of the nation, the Snobs Nation.
Sooner or later, everybody will join in. It'll just be crazy, but it'll be fun. So make sure you join in there.
It's a nation of love, and it doesn't know borders. It's the Snobs Nation.
That's true. I love it. Make sure to hit like on this video on YouTube if you're watching, or anywhere you're watching it. And then head over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we have great shows over there like Scene Snobs Reviews. Real Combat Season 2 is coming back in October. Plot Roast, Geek Fest Live. We, of course, have the Morning Drive live show. We also have Does It Suck, which is coming out, and more, and plenty of special events that are going to be coming.
All over the place. We're loaded up. And you can also help support us by grabbing some merch. Go ahead and sport some of your favorite stuff. You want to head into the office knowing confidently that you'll be able to tell people what the strongest ship in the fleet is. Grab one of those mugs off of our merch store, which you can find at Linktree, with all of our other great places to connect.
Make sure to follow us on all of our social media at the Scene Snobs, or at the Scene Snob on TikTok, because it won't let me change it. But there you go. Before
Save
we get
off the
going,
last S for savings.
all right, everybody, take care, stay tuned, and stay geeky.